other idea that you have, in addition to that, you have the elevation of the sparks that are entrapped in Klippa. And the Rebbe is mainly focused over here, even though he talks a lot about Yisna Er Habam Choshech, the Rebbe is mainly focused on the advantage of the second idea of this taking out and refining the sparks that were there in Mitzrayim. And we said that a neshama goes through a similar thing, that it descends down here below. One idea of the descent is that despite the descent, despite being so low, still in all, it will be able to deal, it'll be able to overcome the darkness of the body and overcoming the darkness of this world, and despite all of that, having all of this great divine revelation. But in addition to that, that it has, when it returns to Hashem, when the neshama returns to Hashem, it's not just it overcoming the darkness of the world, but it also brings back the nitzoitzes of Tayu to their root in Kedusha. All of this is to explain about the story of the mata of the staff, how the staff of Aaron swallowed up all the snakes, and that turned from a staff into a snake, and so on. As we'll soon explain how this relates to all of this. Okay, top of the third page in the Maimer, page Reish Gimel. So in Yitzias Mitzrayim, this is the idea of going out of Mitzrayim. Not only did it occur by Yidden, the extra and additional light that comes out of the darkness, that which is one function of the descent in Golus, that despite the fact that we are in Golus, despite the fact that there's a darkness around us, we can still shine the light of Torah mitzvahs. That itself is a great advantage and quality and gain of descending into Golus. In addition to that, they refined the sparks that were there in Mitzrayim, and this is what we said, that there was also two levels of sparks. And we raised up these sparks even higher than their root and their source. This is based on what the axiom that the Rebbe always says, that every Yerida is for the sake of an Aliyah, meaning it's for the sake of an ascent that's greater than the previous descent. So therefore, if there was a descent previously from level A, so the ascent has to be to a level that's higher than A, or else what was the benefit, what was the gain of the descent in the first place? So the same thing, when these sparks are being elevated from falling down, the Yidden, through their elevation of these sparks, are actually raising it to a level that's even higher than the initial source that they were at beforehand. That's where it says that the Yidden emptied out Mitzrayim, and we quoted the Medrash that says, like a bird trap that has no grain in it, that it's like the depth of the sea that has no fish in it. In other words, that's how they emptied it out. They cleaned it out entirely. And the examples, why specifically is the metaphors used from these two things? Because they have the idea of Almadis Galia and Almadis Kasa. Kibnitzoitz is a Toyum, because in these sparks from the world of Toyum, there is a level that is, like we mentioned earlier in the Maimer, that there is Yesh Beizefanim, there are two types of levels of sparks. The Yesh Nitzoitzes Shubishar Sham Hoya Begali. There are those sparks that in the root they were in a state of revelation. Bechinas Alma Dis Galia. They are from the levels of godliness, which are revealed levels of godliness. Not so concealed, not so high. For that reason, since their godly source and root is from a revealed level, and they fell down here below in a level that's in a revealed way of a trap for birds and grain. These are things that are present on the dry land. And dry land, Chassidus always associates with the world of revelation, because the creatures on the dry land are revealed. They're not encompassed by the source of life, and even more so, they're not concealed by the source of life. They are seen as independent existence, the beings on the dry land. So too, the world of revelation, the Alma Disgalia, are such levels that allow for the existence of things other than godliness. In other words, they're lower levels. They're not completely covered over and encompassed by godliness. V'yesh, and there are those sparks that fell down from the world of Toyu, Shahoyu, B'chinas Helam, that were in a state of concealment, Alma Diskasia, the world of concealment, which shows that the world is completely subsumed in godliness. It's completely bottled to Elikus. Ulefichach, therefore, the level that it connected with in this world, Naflo Lamata B'chinas Metzula Metzula B'Levyam. They fell down here below in the depth, the depth of the sea, because since Alma Diskasi is the idea of the spiritual idea of the sea, just like the physical sea covers over all of the things in it, and everything lives and sees openly that its life force is from the sea. And not only that, but when you look at the sea, you don't see all the things under it. You see the sea, the same thing in godliness, the level that completely encompasses and conceals all of its life force, that all the different creations within it. That's Alma Diskasia. And in both of these types of levels of sparks, there was the complete refinement of sparks. That's why you say that there was no feed left, there was no grain left in this bird trap, there was no fish that was left in the depth of the sea. Can you imagine clearing out the entire depth of the sea of any fish? It's an amazing type of concept. That's how Yidden emptied out Mitzrayim of all these sparks, whether the levels of sparks from Alma Disgalia, from the revealed worlds, or the level of sparks from the level of Alma Diskasia, the concealed world. Second paragraph, this is what it says in the Pasuk, a river comes out of Eden, not Gan Eden. That river that comes out of Eden irrigates, gives water to the garden, and then that river that came into the garden, from there it spreads out, it breaks out into 4 different rivers. So now he explains what is this level of Eden, the Shoyrish Makar Kol Amshachis Umchinas Eden. The root and source of all Amshachis is from Eden. That's why it says the river initially starts from the world of Eden. What is Eden? The Eden of Bechinas Tainu Kadma. Eden is the level of delight. Bechinas Atik. Eden literally means things are delicious, delightful, like the Rambam uses the term when Mashiach comes, Kol Madanim Yu Mitzrayim Ka'afar, all pleasurable things and tasty things will be as available as dust. So Eden means something that's pleasurable, enjoyable. What level in Oilimus is that corresponds to the inner level of Keser. Keser has the 2 components, has Tainug and Rotzen. Rotzen is associated with the external part of Keser, the level of Arich Ampin. Atik Yoimin, Primus Keser, is associated with Hashem's delight. So when we say the river comes out from Eden, it means it comes out from the level of Atik. And the truth is that Atik is representative of things that are completely above and beyond. Just like Atik in relationship to Atzilus is a completely above and beyond. So this is what Atik represents. So therefore, by saying it has to do with Atik, it's by extension saying on the most highest levels possible. So that's the Rebbe continues. Olamaylam is even more so, even higher than this. It's explained in the Gersa Kodesh of Iyu V'Chayoy Echad, where it speaks over there about Hashem creates the world from His very essence, that it's only from the Yesh HaMiti, only for something that truly has no prior cause can it create a world that thinks that it doesn't have a prior cause. The Shoyer Shamakar, the Kulam, the root and source of everything, who Amaitzel Baruch, who is the emanator, blessed be he, Shemitziyusei, Umatzmusei, that his being is from his very essence. Ve'enei olul me'eze ila shekadem lechas v'sholem. He is not a result of any particular cause that preceded him. So therefore, if we're talking about where actually the initial Amshacha comes from, it's not only the level of Atik, but it's the level of Hashem's very essence, that Metziusim Atzmusi. Umisham, from this highest, most level, Nimshach Hanar Lahashk Sagan, the river comes down to irrigate the garden. Umisham, and from the garden, he doesn't go into what the level of garden is. The Pasha is talking about Gan Eden, the spiritual worlds above. And then from there, I date Tzimtzum Musachim Parsois, Tzimtzum through the constriction and different types of curtains and separations. Yipared. Now it comes to state of divisions and separations, that now become separations and divisions to the worlds of separation. In Atzilus, it's all one with Hashem. Outside of Atzilus, it turns into separate levels, distinct levels, because we're dealing with the creation of Yesh. And they became, as the Pasuk goes on to say, once it came out of Gan Eden, it goes out into 4 heads of major rivers. Adlam Nahar Aravihu Pras, until one of the rivers that it enumerates is the river, the Euphrates, the river Pras. This actually hints at the Golus of Edom, is hinted in this 4th river, just like Edom is considered the 4th Golus. That's what the Medrash brings down. One of the other rivers is Shema Echad Pishain. The name of one of the rivers, it says over there in Chumash, is Pishain. What is Pishain identified with? So the Mefarshim explain, the Rashi explains, Hu Nilos Nar Mitzrayim Amashkes Mitzrayim. It is the Nile, the river of Mitzrayim, that irrigates Mitzrayim, as Rashi often explained in Chumash, that Mitzrayim did not have much rainfall, and how would it survive, and how would the crops grow? That was through the river of the Nilus, which is also called Pishain in the beginning of Chumash. V'hu Hanar Harishon V'Akloli. That is called the first river, and like the all-encompassing and general river. Because in that river came down many sparks, and like via that river, meaning the Chayes of Mitzrayim, just like physically, the Nilus is the source of life for Mitzrayim, so too all the spiritual vitality and energy of all the different spiritual sparks are embedded in the Nile, in the Har Pishain, in the Nilus, and through that, it's embedded into Mitzrayim. That's the sustenance of the entire Mitzrayim. Why did it have so many sparks in it? Is for the sake of refining them. This is similar to also what's brought down, that it says, Erev Rav Ole Itam, that a mixed multitude went up with the Yidden out of Mitzrayim. And Chassidus brings down the Rav is the numerical equivalent of 202. Out of the 288 general sparks that fell down to the entire world, Yidden took out 202 of those sparks out of Mitzrayim. So in other words, that's what he's saying, that was the first one, and that was the major one, that was many sparks fell down in Mitzrayim, much more than everywhere else. And Ubitzias Mitzrayim Hoya Bir Bezeh, when out of Mitzrayim, that was the refinement of those sparks. Like it says, Vainatzlas Mitzrayim, they emptied out Mitzrayim. And literally emptied it out. Like we said, not even a grain for a bird to be able to eat, not even a fish left in the sea. The refinement was in such a manner that not even one spark was left. And we see this in a practical application, like it's brought down in the Arizal's writings. The reason for the prohibition to return to Mitzrayim, like it says, you will not again see them forever. So why is there such a prohibition? What's wrong with going back to Mitzrayim? Because wherever a Yid is, it's for the purpose of elevating the sparks. But in Mitzrayim, we said, Vayinatzles Mitzrayim, Ulefik Shekvan Isbararu, Kol Netzoitzes Shenofleba, since Mitzrayim was refined, all the sparks that fell into it. So what purpose would there be for you to go over there if they already emptied it out? We asked that seemingly the staff turning into a snake is the first and therefore the general sign, even more general than the rest of the makkos. So why was this the first thing that Hashem showed Parish? The first thing he showed Paroi was that the staff was transformed into a tamnin, that Rashi says is a snake. The tanin, the serpent, that is the source of the klippus of Mitzrayim. Like it says, like it says in the Haftorah. Concerning Paroi, it says, Paroi Melech Mitzrayim, Paroi the king of Mitzrayim, Hatanim Hagadol, the great serpent, Haroivitz V'Sochia Oirav, that lives, crouches within his lakes, his rivers, his place of gatherings of water. So, in other words, the clip of Paroi is identical with the clip of the snake. Now, what was the sign of taking this staff and changing into a snake? This is what Moshe and Aaron showed Paroi, that his entire greatness and his rivers and water, bodies of water, and the fish even of those bodies of water, they were giving him a message. You should know that there is a mata. Soon we're going to explain that the staff, mata, indicates the idea of kedusha. They were telling Paroi, you should know, where does the tanin come from? Where does the klippa come from? Of all these things, you, your river, your the fish in the river, where does this all come from? It all comes from kedusha, the mata. That's why he turned the mata into the tanin. And then they showed Paroi the way the serpent, the way the snake turned back into a mata. And not only did it turn back into a mata, and not only that, but the staff of Aaron swallowed up their staffs. Because the entire purpose of all the klippos and all the ideas of the snake is that they should become transformed into Kedusha, the halos and its like we said before. So he's going to explain, what does Mata have to do with Kedusha? Mata in Yonam Shachar is the Kedusha. The idea of the staff is drawing down the lights of Kedusha. That's the idea of the staff, from the expression leaning and drawing down. In other words, you're leaning and drawing down from Hashem. The Nikra Gamkin Shevet, a Mata, is also called a Shevet. This is one of the reasons why the Shvatim are called Shvatim, because each one was represented by their own staff. Top of the last page. And Shevet also is similar to the word Mata, meaning Hamshacha. Shegam Zeh, Hu Loshn Hamshacha. Shevet is also from the word drawing down. The Chazal call a shooting star, the Shavit. Shavit from the word Shevet, meaning it shoots out, or meaning it's Nimshach. So now that we've established that the snake obviously is klip. The Mata has to do with Kedusha because it shows on a Hamshacha that comes from Kedusha. So let's bring it back to the story. That's the idea of the transforming of the staff of Kedusha, the Hamshach of Kedusha, into a serpent which shows on Klippa, and then reversing that, and transforming the serpent, which is signifying Klippa, to a staff, which shows on Kedusha, and the staff of Aaron swallowing up their staff, This comes to show that the Mitzrim have to know that where does all their chayes come from? It comes from Kedusha. Their tanin is really a matter that became a tanin. And the fact that Lepoil came about the other side, the opposite side, the goal and the intention in it is that it should afterwards become transformed to holiness. And afterwards, through the 10 makis, was afterwards the refining of all the sparks of Mitzrayim. The ultimate level of the elevation of the sparks is what it says by Makas B'choros. What happened by the Makkah of the firstborn? That the very firstborn themselves killed the Egyptians, which is the ultimate transformation of the of Klippa. That is that the darkness itself became transformed to light. So that's also part of the idea that the mata of Aaron swallowed up their matas, or swallowed up their snakes, because the Kedusha now swallows up and elevates all of these sparks. We know every single generation and every day, person is obligated to see himself as if he left today Mitzrayim. That's the idea of going out of Mitzrayim daily. This is the lesson that we derive from the staff that became transformed to snake. The entire being of the Egyptians in darkness is for the sake of the additional light that comes through the transformation. We get to a higher level than it would have been before they were transformed. And since today is Chavdal Tevis, this Maimon was said in connection with Chavdal Tevis, Viamayimar, we could say Shazel Gama Kesher Din Yazem Liyamir Lulush Rabbeinu Azog Chavdal Tevis. This is also the connection of this topic to the idea of the yard side of the Alter Rebbe on the 24th of Tevis. Shechal B'Shana Zubiyam Revi, the parts of Eira, and Tavshim Amal of 1981. It came out on a Wednesday of parts of Eira. The Ozu Shira Chumish, the Afich Samatla Tan Chulu. Then the Shira Revi was this shir that speaks about the snake and the staff turning into a snake, etc. Like the Rebbe writes in his letter where he was comforting those of his that had a loss, and he writes about this in Tanya in the Geras HaKodesh Siman Chav Ches, the day of the passing what tzaddik in all the toil that a person toiled in his life goes up higher and higher. And afterwards, and as a result of this elevation of all the toil and his avodah going up, it shines, it becomes revealed and shines in a revealed way from above to below. It actually affects salvation in this land. It brings brachas down here into this world. And from the energy that the Alter Rebbe supplies with us on his yard side, from this we take actually the energy that we should be able to transform and bring godliness into this world. After the individual redemption of every person going through his own personal redemption in his avodah, like it's explained in the Geras HaKodesh, all the individual redemptions, my redemption, this person's redemption, that person's redemption, so all of it now gathers together. Through this we extract every single yid in the entire Klal Yisrael, and we bring out even the Shechina out of the Golus, from a state of exile to the general redemption. Vasidi Yerushalayim Shtispashim Chol HaRotzes, and Yerushalayim in the future will expand in all the lands. V'osu the Beis HaMikdash Yispashim Chol Yerushalayim, the Beis HaMikdash in the future will expand in entire Yerushalayim. And there'll be revealed the glory of Hashem, and all flesh will see together that the mouth of Hashem spoke. And there was There was something similar to this, what will take place when Mashiach comes during the giving of the Torah, like it says in Tanya. But and they will awaken and sing those that are resting in the earth. And those whose yahrzeit is on the 24th of Tevis and the 10th of Shvat, amongst them, in other words, the Alter Rebbe and the Frierdiker Rebbe, speedily in our days mamash.